Hello, this is Amanda Herzberg for my research case presentation with Pecha Kucha Influence. My research case assignment I decided to do was Peter Jackson negotiates to direct The Hobbit. Being a diehard dedicated fan of the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the reason for pursuing a career in the entertainment industry lies behind this man himself, Peter Jackson, being able to captivate Tolkien's words to the silver screen. However, what really happened was Peter Jackson had to actually negotiate through multiple uh, I would say clauses. Because, relieving a timeless classic children's book by the director who brought the trilogy only seemed fit to direct The Hobbit. However, why did it take so long to film? The common question circulates for many dreamers of Middle Earth coming true. Involved negotiation tactics was with Warner Brothers, New Line, and MGM, of course, once Guillermo del Toro backed off from 5 years' excursion to direct the project. Another party involvement of continuing the disagreement with New Zealand's actors of equity might endure to delay the film further from its February production start date of 2011. Another conflict revolved around the Tolkien family and the New Line settling lawsuit that New Line didn't fairly distribute royalties from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So there's a bunch of multiple factors going in to bring more life into Middle Earth. So let's identify the positions of each party. Peter Jackson was able to shoot the films back to back using 3D technology, having anticipated a release date guarantee of December 2012 and 2013. Also with Warner Brothers, New Line, Cinema, MGM, the big three were all co-producing the films and will be handling the domestic distribution while MGA will release the film internationally. And of course, Guillermo del Toro will still be attached to the screenplay, a fresh new eyes for the Hobbit script. Also, the New Zealand of the Actors Equity Union, the entire dispute was dropped from the studio to extract higher production encouragements from the New Zealand government. It may prove more damaging to New Zealand actors and for the union to actually drop the blacklist for them to work on the Hobbit movie. As well as the Tolkien estate, the parties of New Line Cinema and Tolkien estate finally reached and settled their differences, and now the project is actually lawsuit free. Thus, the Hobbit movie can move forward to greenlight stage. Now, let's identify the desired interests of each party. For Peter Jackson was the ability to film again in his own backyard. New Zealand, securing rights for the Hobbit films, bringing a new life to our adoring characters old and new, such as Taddeo from The Hobbit, which she was never mentioned in the book, and of course, so he could adapt to a new generation of moviegoers and the Tolkien franchises alike and fans. Also, the interest of Warner Brothers, New Line, MGM was to kind of get them out of, a $500 million debt through MGM, and eventually did split into 3 movies, as well as Warner Brothers' New Line was tying in Academy Award director Peter Jackson to uphold the project, and once again it felt right to give him reins to Middle Earth. As well as New Zealand Actors Equity, basically coming down to arrangements of giving a little bit tax break incentive of, I believe it was close to $25 million in tax breaks for the Hobbit movie as well. So now let's identify the 3 negotiating techniques. Let's go with mutual benefits, a nice little revenue cycle would match again the little tax break of the Hobbit movies being 3D, maybe eventually having the Lord of the Rings movies convert to 3D as well. Tying the Hobbit into the LOT gap with eventually leading to a 3rd movie selling the deal for the fans would like to think all these movies as a whole rather than a separate trilogy. Also goes with the affiliation of Peter Jackson sweetened the deal by having previous built efficiencies from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The film would be utilizing the previous sound stages and visual effect like Weta Workshop that Jackson has already built in New Zealand. Besides going into the appreciation of knowing actors like Ian McKellen, who else would be able to conquer the Gandalf the Grey, the wise wizard of Middle Earth, and to keep the movie to its 2 surroundings of nature of New Zealand. And of course, with having the New Zealand incentive of $25 million worth of subsidies offered from New Zealand to keep the production on the island, thus appreciated to stay true to movies produce more of an economic boom for the island. And let's analyze what actually went well. To make the negotiate for the Hobbit movies, Peter Jackson was able to attach fellow screenwriters again. Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens take more hands-on role, while Peter Jackson, of course, got a nice little piece of the pie because he was produced, direct, executive produced, and screenplay. And we was able to add exciting new filmmaking techniques as 48 frames per second, 3D, exciting new visual effects. Now let's see what actually went wrong. Rumors alert on how they dealt with it. It's not dealing with the actors of New Zealand gracefully or SAG, Screen Actors Guild, tying them into New Zealand equity and prevented The Hobbit from being a pivotal masterpiece for all parties attached. Considering how successful the original Lord of the Rings trilogy was both commercially and critically acclaimed, the Peter Jackson was able to work with the Tolkien estate and create peace between the Screen Actors Guild for the backlash of them not being involved with New Zealand. And thus, there was actual threats for the Hobbit movie to be taken into Southern Europe, which, thus it tied into more of a runaway production. However, not making an appearance after a denial from the Union would made a great impact if Peter Jackson was able to be there in person, even though he got disregarded to be there. So once the agreement was arranged, again, basically, to take care with profits receiving a tax break to New Zealand, ability to still have major funding, even with the impending lawsuits. Peter Jackson was able to negotiate idea to direct the Hobbit film. The agreement reached for Peter Jackson primarily resolved around his long-term relationship with New Line Cinema, New Zealand movies to move forward for production after so many financial hardships and losing financial backing. But it did drive the more traveling industry, as 20% are now visiting New Zealand, and the economic is booming on a final note, who else would be able to direct Middle Earth than Peter Jackson himself? He was able to revamp and revolutionize Hollywood, the sealing and dealing to direct the adventure back to Middle Earth. The fans will either agree or disagree with The Hobbit, with the films being split into multiple movies once he was signed on. But who else could capture the innocence of the Shire besides Sir Peter himself? It's more reaction than the Hobbit movies will entice people to even watch The Lord of the Rings into more, because ultimately we are saying goodbye to Middle Earth.